So, Alligator. We're a public biotech company developing therapeutic antibodies activating the patient's own immune system against cancer. Basically, that means that we do the same thing as everyone else. We are today more than 100 biotech companies developing immuno-oncology antibodies. There is one key difference though. All our products are developed to induce a strong immune activation in the tumor area, but not elsewhere in the body. And this is a concept called tumor-directed immunotherapy. The whole point, of course, is to focus the immune attack towards the tumors, to increase efficacy, and to reduce systemic side effects, to improve tolerability. And this concept has been pioneered by Alligator. We today have 5 products in our pipeline in preclinical and clinical stage, all with a first-in-class potential. The business model is to develop those products from ID up to clinical phase 2, followed by out-licensing to pharma. And this is something we share with most other biotech companies as well. There is one difference again, we have already delivered with a great out-licensing deal with Janssen & Janssen. It's a deal worth, let's see here, $695 million US, and I'll come back to that deal. Based on that deal and a successful share issue at the IPO, we are very well financed today with money in the bank for more than 2 years. I will start by going through the 2 clinical assets of Alligator. ATR 1015, sorry. We have ADC 1013 and we have ATR 1015. ADC 1013 is a CD40 agonist antibody, and that's the one which is out-licensed to Johnson & Johnson. And I will also talk about ATR 1015, our clinical bispecific CTLA-4 product. Here is out-licensing deal with Johnson & Johnson. We have received the upfront payment, $35 million US, and 2 of the milestone payments, $5 and $6 million US. So that's $46 million US, plus they've invested $15 million in Alligator. So more than $60 million US. The next milestone will be phase 2 milestones, and we expect to get the first phase 2 milestone the next year. What's significant about the deal, it is quite front-loaded. More than $350 million US in development and registration milestones, and the rest is sales-based milestones. On top of that, of course, the really big upside is royalties in the range of 10% on all future sales. And I would say Johnson & Johnson or Janssen Biotech, they take all cost for clinical development of this product and every cost for this product, which is really nice of them. So we have now completed 2 clinical trials, one run by Alligator. It was intratumoral administration of the product, and we could demonstrate that that route of administration was safe. Then in October 2016, Johnson & Johnson started a next clinical trial. This is an intravenous clinical dose escalation trial, and as you can see, it's a very large trial with 2 dose escalation arms. More than 95 patients has been enrolled in this study to date, and the results will be presented at ASCO in about a month from today. So we will come back with data from that trial. But it's a safety trial. We should remember it's a safety trial. And again, Janssen, they take all clinical development of this product, and that means we can focus all our efforts on the next important asset, which is ATR 1015. This is a bispecific antibody, and here we are first in the world with a new concept, a tumor-localizing CTLA-4 product. It's been generated by fusing 2 different immuno-oncology antibodies, immuno-oncology activators. One is an OX40 antibody and the other a CTLA-4 blocker. And what this product can do is activate the most important weapon of the immune system, the T effector cells, and at the same time, it can suppress the brakes of the immune system, the regulatory cells. So essentially what we do is both stepping on the gas and releasing on the brakes with the same product. It's a great potential for superior efficacy. In fact, our ambition is not only to do the same thing as those 2 compounds in combination, but to be better. So how can we be better than the combination? Well, because they are in the same product. They can activate both pathways, but in addition, they can form a physical bridge between the immune cell, increasing cell-to-cell communication. And that will lead to increased immune activation. Here is a clear example. We can see a very strong increase in cell-to-cell crosstalk. You can compare the effect of 8 or 1015 with the combination of OX40 plus CTLA4. But the important question is, does this make a difference? And in fact, the results surprised even us. Here is the most important mechanism of action, depleting the regulatory cells. The blue line is a combination of OX40 and CTLA4 products given at the same time at increasing doses. This is the maximum effect. 8 or 1015 is 3 to 4 times stronger in activity. And it translates to anti-tumor efficacy. Here is a tumor model, bladder cancer. We cure around 60% in this model. And that's impressive data. But the most important fact is that once they are cured, they become immune to the cancer. So if we keep these survivors, no further treatment, we save them for a few months, then they will be immune to the cancer. And here we did another experiment where we kept them, the survivors, for 2 months without any more therapy, and then where they got back 2 different cancers. A lung cancer and the same, the bladder cancer. The lung cancer, the immune system does not recognize. It hasn't been exposed to it before, and it will grow very quickly, as you can see. The bladder cancer is immediately recognized. Sorry. There you go. And it won't grow at all. The mice are completely resistant and immune to the tumor. A tumor-specific immunity, and it's long-standing. The obvious question is, does this translate to patients? Usually those models don't. But here I can tell you without a flicker in the eye, it clearly does. CTLA4 is well known and clinically validated as a monotherapy and as combination therapy with PD-1 in melanoma, in renal cell cancer, in colorectal cell cancer. And that's also why Jim Allison got the Nobel Prize late last year. Here is a recent example. This is a combination of a PD-1 blocker, Opdivo, with the CTLA4 product Yervoy. And as you can see, they clearly outperform standard chemotherapy in lung cancer. This is on progression-free survival. This does not translate into a great market potential, though. If you look at the marketing of the products today, these are sales from 2018 and then prognosis going forward. And the red box is CTLA4 product Yervoy. It was approved already 2011. Still the sales, they are reasonably good, $1.3 billion, but they don't really increase. What is increasing and what is really, really great, that's PD-1 sales. From today, about $16 billion, expected to about $40 billion in a few years. So why the difference? Both are effective cancer immunotherapies. And the simple answer is CTLA4 is very toxic. If you take a look at the last trial I showed you, lung cancer trial, that's the most recent trial. They have reduced the dose of CTLA4 quite a lot. Still, it is really toxic. By PD-1 itself, about 8% of the patients get serious adverse events. But if you combine with CTLA4, it's more than twice as many. And as you can see, more than chemotherapy. And that can make a great difference to patients, whether they can handle the treatment or not. So who in his right mind would develop a stronger CTLA4 product given this toxicity? Well, the reason is we have found a very beautiful solution to the problem. A tumor-localizing CTLA4 product. Here is one example where we looked at immune activation within the tumors in this tumor model. This is a bladder cancer model. Again, if we look at the immune activation, if you don't treat, there is very low activation, but you can increase activity of the effector T cells and reduce regulatory cells by OX40 and by CTLA4. And again, 1015 outperforms those really a lot. If we look at other parts of the immune system, and this is important thing, there is no effect. So the effect seems to be confined to the tumor area. We can get a very strong effect in the tumor, but not elsewhere in the body. And this is exactly what we need. Strong CTLA-4 activation without the toxicity. So the case is quite simple. CTLA-4 is efficacious, but very poor tolerability. And we know that CTLA-4 and PD-1 is the best combination out there. But PD-1 will actually increase toxicity even further. And despite the toxicity, the combination is in fact approved already in melanoma, renal cell cancer, and colorectal cancer. So the business case for Alligator is to become the preferred regimen in combination with PD-1 in those indications and hopefully in more indications where the combination is effective by improving safety and efficacy. We have a strong preclinical support, and we actually have today a phase 1 trial that's already started and that will give the answers to those questions. Is the concept really valid in patients? That trial has been started. We have dosed the first few patients, and we will have a clinical safety readout in the second half of 2020. And at that time, we will also start phase 2 trials in combination with PD-1. We will start with melanoma, where the effect is the highest, and then we will expand also to renal cell and colorectal cancer. First efficacy readout in 2022. The deal space, just a very short comment. There's a lot of deals made right now. Some of them, and many of them has been within immuno-oncology. Here's Gilead Agenus deal, 4-1BB programs, 3 programs, $150 million upfront, total deal value of 1.7, but it's 3 products we should remember. Amgen Molecular Partners, a bispecific product, 50 million upfront, 550 million in total deal value. Genentech, a bispecific again, about 100 million upfront, not much more communicated, but that includes near-term milestones. And then very recently a CTLA-4 deal. It could look a bit small, 20 million upfront and 250 million in total deal value, but it's a regional Chinese deal. So there's a great potential for making deals in this space right now. Financials, very short. We don't really have excellent sales. We don't have sales at all. What we do is we have a great liquidity. We have about $43 million in the bank that will take us more than 2 years ahead. Ownership, no changes. So I will just finish by summarizing 1013. We are at the front. We have a strong partner, and we think we have a best-in-class profile within CD40. 1015, we are first in the world with a new concept, a tumor-localizing bispecific CTLA-4, now in clinical phase 1. And then we have 2 4-1BB products where 1017 will actually enter clinical phase 1 very soon. Let's look at the next important milestones. We have the big milestones next year. Clinical readout on 1015, that's safety readout, second half 2020. And we also expect phase 2 milestones next year with 1013. But this year, and actually this summer, we will submit clinical trial authorization for 1017, the 4-1BB monospecific antibody, and at the end of the year for the bispecific 4-1BB product 527. So with that, Alligator is building a solid clinical pipeline within our niche of immunotherapy, tumor-directed immunotherapy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Per. I think it's refreshing that you acknowledge that there are room for improvement in the sales section.
Sure.
But then again, you do have a really, like you said, you have a very interesting development program going on here. And looking forward to another milestone next year. That should be nice. I was actually going to ask you about the new platform, the technology platform that you have launched recently,
Sure.
the Ruby platform. What can you tell us about that in brief?
Yeah, so Ruby is a bispecific platform, bispecific format, and essentially that's a way to fuse two different therapeutic antibodies into one product with superior properties. And the difference between the existing formats is we can have a shorter development timelines with this product, and the end quality of the product will be better.
I understand the part of the quality being better. That's important, of course. What are the other, what are the biggest advantages of this platform?
I think the development timelines is really important. I mean, for us, trying to be first in class is always competition between a lot of other companies, and developing a bispecific is extremely challenging. What it does specifically, this format, it allows us, if we have two original antibodies with good properties, we can fuse them without secondary optimization. If you don't have that, you need to spend 12 to 18 or 24 months to improve the final product. But we can go straight into manufacturing once we fuse them.
Okay, and given the, like you said, the huge, the fierce competition in this field, I bet there are a few big players out there who are really interested in cutting times to development. Have you seen any interest?
We have a lot of discussions with companies on our format. We are not planning on out-licensing the format, but we have today a full platform for generating biologics. We have a human antibody library, we have the protein evolution technology, we have manufacturing and the bispecific format. So we are discussing different collaboration.
Okay. I mean, this is speculative, but if you had been, instead of being a Swedish company based in Lund at Medicon Village, if you had been based in Boston, for example, where would you have been now with the technology that you have?
Well, that's quite difficult to answer, but I mean, surely where you are makes a difference. But I think Lund, where we are positioned, has been a really good place to be. There's a lot of access to old AstraZeneca competencies, and it's a vibrant area to work in. So I think we're in a good location.
Yeah. And then speaking of locations, you started out at least to made an appearance on the Swedish biotech scene for the broad masses, I guess, with your deal with Janssen in 2015. Given the development in this field during the last 4 years, how do you think your deal then compared to what you could have done now? Because I bet it's a bit harder now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the deal is still a great deal, and it would be great if we did it today. Surely it has changed within immunotherapy. In 2015, most pharmas were building their pipelines. Today, they have really strong pipelines within immuno-oncology, and I would say there is around 1,000 or 2,000 products today, depending on how you define immuno-oncology, that are claimed to be immuno-oncology agents. So the competition is really strong. So for us, it's all about being first or being different or better.
Great. We're actually going to talk more about deal making in a little while. I was going to see if there are any questions from the audience to Per at this point.
One question.
One question.
How do you see the collaboration with Janssen? Are they moving forward quickly enough? I've seen in some other respects that they have been too cautious and others have outrun them.
Yeah. No, that's a fair question, and there's a few things we should remember. If you just look at it on the surface, this trial has taken a very long time, but we should remember they did start the trial in October 2016. When they made the deal, we were running an intratumoral study, and then they were preparing for the intravenous trial. So in October 2016, and the trial was then completed early this year, so a bit more than 2 years. And it's a very large phase 1 trial with dual dose escalation arms. And in addition, which also took some time, is they have changed manufacturer from our Swedish manufacturer. They have moved to the US preferred provider, Biogen, and then set up a more or less almost commercial size manufacturing for this product. So they have introduced the new material into the trial, and that's added more patients and added more time. So there's a lot of factors, but obviously we would have hoped for even faster progress there.